Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Calvin Malbuena. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching my presentation. Today's presentation is over my capstone project, Correctional Institutions, Disciplinary and Administrative Confinement. Why I chose this topic. Having worked in both institutional corrections and community corrections throughout the past 4 or 5 years, I've seen the importance of maintaining safety while managing offenders. This experience made me interested in learning more and spreading the knowledge about both disciplinary and administrative confinement. So there's two types of confinement. There's disciplinary, which is used as punishment, happens after an inmate violates prison rules, whether it be fighting, assaulting staff, possessing contraband, serious rule violations. And then there's administrative confinement, which necessarily isn't a punishment. It's used more for safety, such as protective custody, which is known as PC, escape risk pending investigations, threat to staff or inmates. Although both remove inmates from the general population, they both serve very different purposes. Restrictive housing has changed over time. Say, within the past 20 years, it has changed extremely. And I believe it will continue to change with the fact that we're in a whole different time of policing, of corrections. We're in a whole different time. Inmates are changing, staff are changing, policy and procedure will always change. Correctional systems now use many different systems, such as the classification system, regular review system, step-down programs. The goal is balancing. The goal is to simply balance safety, security, and rehabilitation all in one. Now, my thesis. My research led me to 3 main conclusions. Correctional institutions should retain disciplinary and administrative confinement because these practices are essential for maintaining institutional safety and order, protecting correctional staff and vulnerable inmates from violence, and effectively managing high-risk or disruptive offenders when implemented under established correctional policies, legal standards, and appropriate oversight. I'll now discuss each of these 3 points in more details. So, main argument number 1, maintaining institutional safety and order. The reason I believe disciplinary and administrative confinement should remain available is because they help maintain institutional safety and order. Why safety is important in prison. A lot of people may ask that. Prisons are unpredictable environments. Correctional staff are responsible for hundreds of thousands of inmates. When I was working at the compound that I was working at, it was one officer. I was the one officer. I was in charge of 80 inmates on each side. So at any given time throughout my shift, I could be in charge of about 120 to 150 inmates. One officer acting as a dorm sergeant. So disciplinary and administrative confinement, it's easy to pick out the ones that we say, right, he could cause problems in the dorm, or he did cause problems in the dorm. So it would minimize the risk for staff, because one violent inmate can put everyone at risk. Safety is also known as the foundation of a secure correctional institution. Now, how restrictive housing helps. It separates violent or disruptive inmates from the general population. It prevents additional assaults. It helps stops fights from escalating. It reduces opportunities for gang activity. It allows correctional staff to regain control after serious incidents have taken place. So I'm going to give you an example. If an inmate assaults another inmate or a correctional officer, administrators need a way to immediately remove that individual from the general population to prevent further violence. So essentially, that being said, if an inmate decides to try to harm a staff or another inmate, the easiest way for staff, the administration can prevent another incident from happening is by removing the troubled offender, which is where disciplinary or administrative confinement come in. Managing gang activity. That was one of the ways that it helped, that restrictive housing helped. Gang members often organize violence. They intimidate other inmates. They can recruit new members, and restrictive housing helps disrupt gang leadership and reduces organized violence. The gang system inside of the Florida Department of Corrections is one of the biggest things going on right now. It has one of the biggest impacts on all inmates, whether they like to admit it or not, whether the staff like to admit it or not. I feel like disciplinary and administrative confinement really do slow the gang activity down, which is what we want as a whole in the system. It also controls contraband. Contraband such as drugs, cell phones, homemade weapons, shanks, ships. Other prohibited items. Inmates involved in trafficking and contraband often require separation from the general population while investigation takes place. Investigation. So if an inmate is caught with contraband, caught trying to smuggle contraband, caught trying to pass on contraband, until the investigation is over, they will be in administrative confinement, not disciplinary confinement until they're proved guilty and until they went through the whole process of getting judged and going in front of the administration. Confinement. It's good for preventing large disturbances. When I say large disturbances, I'm talking about riots, group fights, threats against staff, institutional unrest. So removing the inmates responsible often prevents violence from spreading throughout the facility. If there's one thing that could spread inside of a correctional facility, it's violence. Through the simple fact that it's a wave. A group of people see one inmate acting up, they see that he's getting attention, they see that he's causing unrest. There's a good chance that they're going to try to follow. There's a good chance. Monkey see, monkey do. The research that I found, it shows, most of the research agrees restrictive housing remains an important correctional management tool. It should be used when necessary, not as the first response to every disciplinary issue. It reviews policies and oversight help ensure it is used appropriately. From my experience working as a certified correctional officer in the state of Florida, I know how quickly situations can escalate inside of a correctional institution. Having the ability to separate inmates helps protect staff, inmates, and overall operation of the facility. That being said, as somebody who's been inside, somebody who knows the system, somebody who's seen it all, I truly do agree with both administrative and disciplinary confinement. I'm not talking about it because it's my capstone project. I'm talking about it because I truly do believe in it. Maintaining safety and order is only one reason restrictive housing remains important. My second argument focuses on protecting correctional staff and vulnerable inmates. So my main argument, number 2, is essentially protecting staff and vulnerable inmates. Protecting correctional staff, such as correctional officers working in dangerous environments every day. We all know that. That's common sense. Everybody doesn't really pay attention to that. People try to downplay the work that correctional officers do. Staff are responsible for maintaining safety and responding to all emergencies inside of the correctional institution. Restrictive housing helps inmates who become violent or repeatedly threaten staff get taken out of the issue. This also reduces the risk of additional assaults and helps restore order inside the compound. When an inmate assaults a correctional officer or reportedly threatens administrators or repeatedly threatens staff, administrators need a safe way to remove that inmate from the general population. Every time an inmate gets in trouble, decides to threaten, decides to fight, you can only transfer the inmate to so many different facilities. This is how administrative and disciplinary confinement come into play. It also protects vulnerable inmates. Some inmates are at much higher risk of being assaulted by other inmates. Examples include former officers, judges or prosecutors, confidential informants, inmates convicted of crimes against children, inmates who have been threatened by gangs. These inmates may be placed in administrative confinement for their own protection. The goal is safety, not punishment. This is where administrative confinement comes in. Like I said in the beginning, administrative confinement isn't necessarily punishment, it's more for safety. Preventing violence, separating inmates before violence happens, preventing retaliation, reducing intimidation and extortion, protecting inmates who otherwise may be targeted. Prevention is often more effective than responding after an assault occurs. If you could prevent the problem from happening, that's the easiest way to make the shift go by. If you could prevent an assault from happening before it happens, if you could see, I could see him being assaulted, I could see him being a target to the inmates, I'm going to put him in administrative confinement prior to him even getting down to the compound. That can solve a lot of issues before they even become issues. Research finds that administrative confinement helps reduce opportunities for violence. It allows correctional administrators to respond quickly to safety concerns. When used appropriately, it protects both staff and inmates while maintaining institutional security. Now, from personal experience, from my own experience working in corrections, I understand how important it is to identify potential safety risks before they become serious incidents. Having the option to separate inmates when necessary helps protect everyone inside the institution, not only staff, inmates, everybody. Everybody inside the institution is a little safer due to disciplinary administrative confinement. My final argument focuses on how disciplinary and administrative confinement help correctional institutions manage high-risk and disruptive offenders. Explain, not all inmates are the same. Every inmate presents a different level of risk. Some inmates follow the rules, others have histories of violence, some are gang leaders, others repeatedly assault staff or inmates, some attempt to escape or threaten institutional safety. Because every inmate presents a different level of risk, correctional institutions cannot manage everyone the same way. If everybody was able to be managed the same way, the system would run so much smoother. But just like every human, no inmate is the same. So everybody should be handled differently. Every punishment should be different. Every case has exigent circumstances that must be looked at before or after, or even while in disciplinary administrative confinement. Correctional institutions use classification systems. Inmates are assigned housing based on criminal history, institutional behavior, escape risk, violence, security levels. Classification helps determine where inmates should be housed. High-risk offenders often require more restrictive supervision. They require more restrictive supervision due to the fact that if I see an offender has a pattern, whether it be battering other inmates, escape attempts, why would I put him in an open bay dorm if I know that he's going to be a problem inside that open bay dorm? So instead of me having him be a problem in the open bay dorm, I'll simply put him in administrative confinement, see how he acts in there, try to get him evaluated, and then move from there. Once he properly conducts himself and he passes evaluations, he goes through the screening process to see if he can be a modern inmate in general population. Restrictive housing helps manage inmates who repeatedly commit violent acts, assault staff, assault other inmates, organize gang activities, attempt escapes, continue violating institutional rules. Now, removing these inmates helps maintain control over the institution. Like I said, it also allows correctional staff to safely investigate serious incidents. Step-down programs. That's a big thing in the correctional system right now. These correctional agencies now use step-down programs. These programs gradually prepare inmates to return to general population. So the step-down program begins when they're inside disciplinary administrative confinement. This program gradually prepares inmates to return to general population. Inmates earn privileges by demonstrating positive behavior. This encourages rehabilitation while maintaining institutional safety. The goal isn't simply to isolate inmates forever. The goal is to safely transition them back into general population whenever possible. So the goal, as I said here, the goal isn't to keep them in confinement forever. The goal is to have them see what's going on, have them see the consequences from their actions, have them work on themselves, work on the way that they act, work the way that they are, and have them move back down to general population with the rest of the inmate offenders. Now, opposing viewpoints. Some researchers believe restrictive housing can negatively affect mental health. Long-term isolation may increase anxiety, depression, or other psychological concerns. These concerns are important and should not be ignored. Now, I agree that restrictive housing should not be used. It should include regular review and oversight. However, eliminating it completely would make it much more difficult to safely manage dangerous offenders and protect correctional staff and inmates. Now, the fact that researchers believe restrictive housing can negatively affect mental health. I believe that is a statistic based on individuals not knowing what actually goes inside of a correctional institution. Like I said, me having that knowledge and me working on the inside, I know that there's procedures, there's stuff that goes on that ensures that inmates' mental health is taken care of. There's psychologists, psychiatrists walking around once, twice a week. That's mandatory. There's wardens, there's chaplains, so everybody does their checks. So it's not the people on the outside who are the researchers, essentially, they don't see what's going on. They don't see the steps that we're taking to ensure disciplinary administrative confinement are running smoothly and it's not affecting inmates in a negative way, hopefully. After reviewing both sides of the issue, I concluded that disciplinary and administrative confinement continue to play an important role in today's correctional institution when they're used appropriately and with the proper oversight. My three main arguments are simple. I'm going to go over them real quick. Restrictive housing. Restrictive housing helps maintain institutional safety and order. It reduces violence and it helps prevent riots, gang activity, and serious rule violation. It helps protect correctional staff, the vulnerable inmates, and administrative confinement is often used for protection rather than punishment. My third argument was it helps correctional institution manage high-risk offenders. Classification systems identify inmates who require additional supervision, and step-down programs are in place to help inmates safely transition back to the general population. That concludes my presentation. I couldn't have an audience here due to my current situation over the holidays. I did have questions asked by staff, people that I work with. One of the questions was, what made you choose this topic? I chose this topic because, as I said, I previously worked as a Florida correctional officer for over 2 years. I currently work as community corrections officer. My experience in corrections showed me what disciplinary and administrative confinement was. Along with doing research, it showed me that people don't truly know what the two populations come with. It's very misinformed. I thought me coming with the knowledge, the background, the expertise, the schooling, I could let the public know as much as I can and show them that disciplinary administrative confinement isn't a bad thing all the time. It actually benefits inmates in the long run, in my opinion. Another question that was asked: do I think disciplinary and administrative confinement should ever be eliminated? No. Based on my research and my experience, I don't believe that they should and they ever will be completely eliminated. Restrictive housing should always be used carefully with proper oversight. Correctional institutions still need the tools available to protect correctional staff, vulnerable inmates, and maintain institutional security. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. God bless.